Believe it or not, it's another VO podcast with three guys who are full-time voice actors at different stages of life, career, and location.
But they have formed a bond and work together to hold each other accountable and help each other on their VO path.
Three guys from different backgrounds working together, helping each other, and sharing with you along the way.
Hey, what are we calling it again?
It's another VO
podcast.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I get it. Come on, you're not my dads.
Hey, welcome back to It's Another VO Podcast. I'm Alden, and we're here with episode 10 of It's Another VO Podcast with myself, Alden Schinnerberg, Jake Sanders, and Troy Holden. How you guys doing today?
Yep.
Hey, doing good.
Did you know this is our 10th episode?
It's our 10th episode.
This will be our 10th episode.
Your birthday.
Yeah,
it is my birthday.
You did that on purpose.
However, not my 10th birthday.
10 times what?
That's right. I don't know did you guys think we were going to make 10 episodes?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah?
Jake thought I was going to die before 10, I think.
That's true.
Jake already has like 50 more topics ready.
Oh, man, you just
podcast.
wait. You just wait for the topics I've got to talk about.
Well, this has been great. We've already had one guest on, and we've already interviewed another guest, but that'll be releasing later this month.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 10 podcasts. I'm pretty excited about that. And it's been a good ride.
Yeah.
I have for you to celebrate our 10th podcast. What do you think are the top 10 podcasts by popularity?
So are you talking about genre or the name of the podcast?
Actual podcast.
Ooh.
I have a feeling the number one's going to be fairly obvious, but...
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yep, Joe Rogan Experience is number one. Now, what I'm looking at, this is released May 23rd, which I think we'd only released one podcast. So, guys, we're not on there yet.
We're not on there yet. No.
So take that right out of your mind.
Okay.
Right now.
Man, I was hoping we were at least number 7.
Yeah.
Any other guesses?
Smartless has to be one of those.
What about people that I can't remember the name of the two girls that used to be on The Office?
Oh, the Office Ladies.
Yeah, The Office Ladies.
Yeah,
The Office Ladies is number 8. Very well done, Troy.
Nice.
Smartless
isn't in the top 10.
Smartless is not in the top 10.
That's some booty. That's a great podcast.
Well, the people have spoken. I'm sure you love it, but not among popularity. Here, I'll just read through the list real quick. But I'm sure we'll make this list someday.
Do I have a drum roll? I don't think I do. Let me see.
There we go. The Daily. That's number 2.
Oh.
The Daily from the New York Times, I believe. The number 3, This American Life. I have heard of this one.
That sounds familiar, but I've never listened to it.
This American Life. Hosted by radio personality Ira Glass.
Huh.
The Stuff You Should Know podcast.
Huh.
That's almost like it's another VO podcast. It's a very generic title. Stuff You Should Know. That's number 4. Number 5, Pod Save America.
What?
Pod Save America is number 5 popularity. Yeah. Number 6, The Ben Shapiro Show. I would not have. I'm not surprised. That's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Number 7.
I didn't realize he had a podcast.
Call Her Daddy is number 7.
All right. Now, I got to get context on that one.
I don't know if you really do need context on that one.
Is that like, you're in trouble, you need to call her daddy? Or is that like, call her daddy?
It says, I'll just read the description, okay?
Yeah,
Call Her Daddy is a sex-positive dating and relationship podcast that's popular among women.
Interesting.
Okay, there you go. Call Her Daddy. Number 8, The Office Ladies.
Nice.
That probably should be higher up. The Office is
pretty
great.
good. It is.
Yeah. Number 9, Morbid, a true crime podcast.
True crime. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the true crime one my wife listens to, but she listens to, and my daughter listens to a true crime podcast.
Those are very popular.
Yeah.
They can write into AnotherVOPodcast at gmail.com to tell us if that's what they listen to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
She'll probably just tap me on the shoulder.
That would probably
That's
work.
not the right one. And number 10, My Favorite Murder, another crime podcast.
Yeah,
so
doesn't surprise
those are your top
murder.
10 as of May 23rd, 2000. 23.
You know who's missing that kind of surprised me, and it just dawned on me as you read through that? Mike Rowe. He's got a great podcast. I listen to it quite often. So
I do too.
I'm a little surprised he's not there.
Yeah, I catch him I don't listen to every one. I don't stay up to date with release schedules on podcasts for some reason. I just get into a mode where I want to listen to some podcasts, and I'll go and look at the ones I've subscribed to and see what I've missed and maybe catch up on some that sound like they're cool. And that's me and how I do podcasts, which is probably not the norm. I'm sure most people know when their podcast drops, and we got to get to this new crime podcast. It's coming.
I know when 2 podcasts drop, and then I have a bunch of like sub podcasts I listen to when I'm caught up on the other 2 that I'm listening to. I don't care about those. I'll just scroll through those episodes and like, does this sound good? Yeah, I'll listen to this. If this one doesn't sound good, then I won't listen to it. But yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And this list may have left out like news type podcasts, that a lot of the big news stations, CNN, Fox, and their talk show hosts have different podcasts, and it may have excluded those just, for reasons that kind of narrow the list down. But anyway, 10th episode. Yeah. Those are the top 10 podcasts. Maybe someday, guys. Maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday. Who knows?
Well, today we're talking about voiceover workshops. Troy, just last night, we're recording on Wednesday, the 12th. Just last night, I think you had a new automotive commercial workout workshop. They're kind of in the same vein, so we're including that as well. Yep. I just joined because there was a special at the Edge Studios, 6 months of some workshops there, which I'm pretty excited about, and had our first session on Monday. Have you guys done real workshops?
I guess technically.
Participate?
I did one of Troy's automotive workshops, or workouts, however you want to call it. And then I don't know if it was, Troy, you were in this too, but would you consider Deborah Sperling's Authenticity and Voiceover a workshop, since it was kind of a little...
I think so. I think anything that's got more than, there's 2 or more people, I think that's kind of
could be considered a workshop.
Yeah, because anything else is individual coaching, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. Yeah, then I've done 2. I've done 2 workshops, and they're pretty cool.
Okay, so let's just define real quick what exactly is a workshop. What are we talking about, so that listeners know exactly what our narrow parameters are here. What is a workshop?
Concrete slab, 4 walls, maybe some machinery in there.
That's right. Building toys, elves, need elves.
Yeah. Santa coming in and out. No,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't know. I would say just something where you get together and where you're able to definitely, like, you have a speaker or you have a workshopper person, however you want to call it, or maybe 2 in the automotive
expert.
Case. Clinician, that's the word I did not know. And I don't know, just they kind of give you an overall like glance at something that you might be looking to work on, and you do touch on it, but it's not, I don't think it's a place where you go to like necessarily hone your skill, but rather learn how to start honing your skills.
Or learn about a genre. That's what we're doing with the automotive.
Right.
You come in, you read for it, you get your feedback. You're not getting coached. You're just getting some feedback of how it should sound. And then you can make a decision, do I want to go after that or not? That's kind of what these are for. But and I have been to workshops that are somewhat coaching geared, because the voiceover gurus workshops I used to go to, which they still have those, and I still recommend people look into them. You would always have 2 coaches. You would read, you would be coached on it, you would reread, you might be recoached on another line or asked to do this or that or do it the different way until they got it to where they thought it should be. So it helps you in your script analysis and how to make a decision, on how you're going to read things. So they are, some of those are coaching, but you're in a group environment. And it's just, it can be a little nerve-wracking at first, because when we read now, we're alone. Our screen's up, we read, there's nobody critiquing, nobody watching, and then you're in there and there's 6, 7 other people looking at you.
Yeah.
It can be a little unnerving. And there are some people that will turn their video off because they don't want to see the people watching them.
Isn't that something?
Kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is all of those aspects to workshops. And there are so many workshops out there. You can find a niche and you can find a different one that kind of fits what you're looking for, I would expect. But yeah, there's a little bit of learning, often genre specific or sector specific for whatever voiceover work you're trying to do. And there is usually a workout or lab element. If you're in college and you take a science class and you have to have a lab that goes with that science class, right? So in the classroom, you learn about the stuff, and in the lab, you practice what you hopefully learned. So there's all of those aspects. Now, you said it's not coaching, so how is it a workshop different from just straight one-on-one coaching?
Well, I mean, it's just you don't get that like you get a little bit, like Troy kind of touched on it. Like you might get to read a time or two or something like that, but you can't really like sit there and focus. The clinician can't sit there and focus on one person for too long. Yep. I mean, so again, it's really like they're just kind of covering the basis, and then it's up to you to decide if you want to pursue whatever that whatever that workshop was touching on. You know what I mean? Like workshops are more like introductory stuff. I mean, I'm not saying like you can't take one once you're like in the gig or whatever, especially, but I mean, it's just, it's not a place to like get better, so to speak. Like you don't have the, cause you have to put in the time and effort to get better at anything. And workshops is not a place for that. They can show you things you can do to start the process of getting better, but it's not like you do. Yeah. It's not like, I go to my individual coaching sessions and they're like 90 minutes. Now I've been to workshops that are 90 minutes, but in the 90 minutes where I'm coaching, it's just me and the coach. Right. And I can ask all the questions I want. I can do a read so many times I want, try different things. Like you're not given that time as someone attending a workshop. You're given a couple of minutes here and there, and then you have to sit back and listen. I mean, like I'm not saying there's not nuggets you can't gain from listening to other people's experience, but you'll learn certain things, but I mean, you're not getting to engage as much, which is not really my style, so to speak. I mean, I've definitely tried some, and that's not going to say that I'm not going to try workshops again in the future for anything, but I'll tell you this, I'd rather learn one-on-one with someone so I have them to myself so I can really engage them and get down to the meat of what I'm looking for,
Yeah, and I see it as they're more foundational. So you're building that foundation or getting a lot of foundational information, because most of the time, and I'm not going to say all the time, I've been to workshops that there'd be 4 people in there that were pretty seasoned voiceover people. They're just in there sharpening the blade a little bit. Maybe I'll pick up a nugget. But most of them I go to, if there are 6 people, usually 3 or 4 of them are almost brand new. So they're looking for that foundational help, and as it should be. And the good thing is, if there's a couple of people in there that are more advanced, they get to hear that. They get to hear how they got to their read quicker and hear that coach or that leader of that workshop, have appreciation for what they did. I mean, last night we had at least 2 reads where we all said, I got nothing. They were that good. I mean, they were really good reads. And that happens. Now,
Thanks,
they
Troy.
may have went to they may have went to a different
It wasn't me. I'm just kidding.
They may have went to a different copy in their next read, and they got a lot of instruction, and that's the thing is, you don't go in there to look good. You go in there to learn. And a lot of people pick an easy copy. Oh, that one's me. I can do that one. They're going to like this. Don't pick that. If you go to a workout or workshop, pick something that you're not good at. And that way you get your money's worth, because you're getting some information about something you're not as good at.
Right. Yeah.
So kind of, I think that's a good thing about going to these. You can definitely get more out of it if you'll go into it with a challenge mindset, not I want to go in there and sound good for the other 5 people.
Or to add to that real quick, you could do, because like for instance, in your automotive workshop, you guys gave everybody two opportunities to read 2 different scripts. So I picked one that I wasn't quite sure how I'd approach it, but I also did pick one that I thought I was pretty good at, because I wanted to it's like almost like I wanted to confirm. It's like, okay, am I on the right track with this? Yeah. So maybe pick one you're not good at, and then pick one, or you're not sure about, and then pick one that you are sure about, just to make sure you are sure about it, because you may not be hearing something they hear. So
and we all deal with an imposter mentality, which is not unique to voiceover, but it certainly is quite present in voiceover. So that can help you. You pick something, you feel confident, and you get a attaboy, that helps you get through the imposter mentality. And then you can also, the other side, pick something that you really feel like you need to work on. Like, I'm not very good at this.
Right.
What do you guys think? What can I improve on?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's just getting in and they can't afford coaching, I do think workshops have a little better of a price point, a better entry point where they can get in. So you do see a lot of newer voiceovers starting out with workshops.
Yeah,
and I think that's
right.
a good point. I think that's a good starting spot.
Right.
So
that's where my career changed.
Yeah.
Was going through the workshops and then connecting with the same people that put on the workshop for one-on-one coaching.
Oh, yeah.
It made a big difference. There are a lot of reasonably priced workshops out there, and one that I always forget about is Mark Preston.
Okay.
If I want to remember, it's like $25. I could be wrong, but I think it's around $25. And it's, a couple hours. You'll get 1 to 2 reads. You'll get good feedback. And he's been around. I mean, he's been around and he's still working. So it's a good place to start at a good rate if somebody's looking for something reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can Google it and find him, but I was thinking it was like $25. It's not much.
Well, and your automotive workouts have been really popular.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the Facebook groups. So
yeah, nobody else is focusing on that, and I think that's why they have sold out quickly. And there's a lot of interest in it, especially from females. We had 6 females and 1 male last night, and we opened up an extra spot to see if we could easily cover 7. I think we could probably go to 8 people and still get 2 reads. So we were experimenting to see, but it went great. We still had time left at the end for questions,
because you do try to keep it an hour, don't you?
No, we go 2.5.
You go 2.5? Oh, my goodness.
2.5 hours.
See, folks, there's value right there.
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, and it's $75, right?
Yeah, 75, 2.5 hours. Yeah. And last night they got a bonus. For the first hour and 15 minutes, Cliff Zellman sat in.
Oh,
so
nice.
they not only got Jenna's feedback and what little monkey sense that I can give them, but they got Cliff Zellman.
There you go.
And it gets no better than his feedback.
Top
my
of the
gosh.
top.
Yeah, 28 years doing this. You think he knows what he's doing? Heck yeah, he does.
I would say so.
Well,
I would say so.
I'm just kidding.
Now, just before we, on the last question, we started to hit on some things about being ready, to get the value out of the workshop. What are some things you can and should do ahead of time to be workshop ready?
I would have to say, and I've said this for the last couple of years, I'm not saying you got to have a booth built, but you got to have a space that will work. Even for a workshop, I've seen people come to a workshop in their car, sitting in their car somewhere. Don't do that. At least have, a mic and headphones and be just in a quiet room. I'm not saying you got to be in a booth, but, be professional about it. And
you should make that a requirement.
Yeah, it kind of should be.
Like even for the one we did, authenticity and voiceover, Deborah made her prerequisites very clear.
She did.
Yeah, and it's something that definitely you could consider. But that's not to dismiss your point. Yeah, you should be prepared like that for a workshop. You should, if you're going to go into something like that, be prepared to be in a professional setting, because you're in a workshop, you're getting in front of these people who probably do other things, and they're going to see how professional or unprofessional you are.
Oh, yeah.
So, for sure.
It's an opportunity to show a little bit about you.
For entry-level workshops you're just getting your first experience, they don't require those. They don't require you to have a studio. They don't require this.
They don't.
But if you do, and you've got the microphone you're going to be working on, they're going to hear you better, just like the mic hears you better. They're going to pick up on your emotions, just like the mic picks up your emotions. Where those, if you've got a bad internet connection, or you're trying to use the laptop microphone, that's not going to pick everything up, and it might cut in and out. So the feedback you get may not be as good as the feedback you would get when they hear everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And on the other hand, don't be afraid to go to a workout. A lot of people are very afraid to go in there. These other people are going to hear me. They're going to know I'm new. I'm going to suck. You got to start somewhere.
Yes.
You have to. So these are the safest places. I know of no one that holds a workout that begrudges or beats you up or talks down at you because you're new. They don't. They'll encourage you. They'll help you.
That's right.
You know, they'll try to get you to relax. And usually by the time you do your second read, you will be more relaxed. You'll see the other people are a little nervous. They're going through the same thing you are.
Yeah.
We had that last night. We had a person who went through half of their first read, and you could just hear the jitters. And they finally hit a sentence that was more real to their personality, and it brought them down, and they finished it. And then Cliff said, read it again right now. Don't stop. And she went through the second time, and it was fantastic. You know, she got over her nerves, and it was all good. And it can be nerve-wracking, but don't be afraid of it. Just jump in there and do it.
Yep. I remember my first workout or workshop that I was involved in, and it was my turn to read. Man, I thought my heart was going to beat out of my throat, you know.
Me too.
And I've been on stage for almost 30 years. I don't usually get nervous in front of people, but for some reason that got my nerves going.
Well, who was the workshop with? Was it anybody?
That was one of Bill DeWeese's workouts from the Blueprint.
Okay.
When I was first getting started, you know, I'd only been doing it maybe 6 months at that time.
Well, that makes a little more sense. I mean, being on stage for so long is different than hopping in a booth or hopping behind a mic and getting in front of someone, you know, who at least is. I mean, when I first got into voiceover, I saw Bill DeWeese all over the place, so I can imagine that would being a little nerve-wracking. But
a lot nerve-wracking. I think that was same first experience for me. Alden was on one of his things, and then it was quite a while before I went to the Guru's workout. That was I went to Mark Preston's somewhere in between too, and that was a help because I got to see what it was about. I understood what a workout was. I knew what to expect. Then when I went to the Guru's, and I'll never forget, JJ told the story later on their podcast. He said, when I heard that guy first talk, I'm like, oh crap. You know, there's no way he can, you know, and he said, then you read the script, and I'm like, not so bad. That's kind of warm. That's kind of genuine. That's not bad, you know, but they did. They were very welcoming and encouraging. They were probably the first people that told me, you know, don't try to fake away your accent. You know, you can go get a dialect coach and work on it, but don't fake it away.
Yeah.
You know, be yourself and then see where that takes you. And then you can decide to take that further through a dialect coach and blah, blah, blah. So I'll never forget that. I mean, there were so many encouraging things that came from that relationship because you go to the workout, you build a relationship with the people in the workout, you keep going back, and then they will reach out to you and say, look, I think you're far enough along. You don't really need the workouts. You're ready for individual coaching. It's time to leave that nest and get in this nest. And then that's what I did. And then it wasn't long after that, they said, you need to go fly, little bird. You need to go do your thing. You're ready. And, you know, that's kind of where it comes from. One thing
little
leads
mountain
to another.
bird, little mountain bird. You're
Get
ready
on
to fly.
out of here, you big crow. Mockingbird.
That's right. So can workshops keep you sharp? I mean, we've talked about them as a good starting point to get your legs under you, but you do need to get some coaching. You do need that one-on-one experience. But what about workshops as keeping you sharp?
Yes and no. It just depends. I think it just depends on how far along you are in your journey. Like, I mean, if we are specifically talking about voiceover workshops, then yeah. I mean, like, it kind of goes back to what I was adding on to what Troy had said earlier. I mean, like, if you can find a read that you're not comfortable with, you should definitely do that because then it gives you feedback and they can point you in the direction to go. But then if you have a read that you are comfortable with too, if you are given the 2 read opportunity, do that. Like, you know, do something you do know because maybe they're hearing something you don't. So I think there's opportunities to sharpen sharpen the axe as you've coined. But at the same time, you know, it's hard to say. I think there's opportunities for it, but are workshops the place to go to do it? Indefinitely, no. I don't think so. But there's opportunities for it, but you have to approach it in the right way, I think.
So maybe sprinkled in lightly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
but
good practice.
Not something to lean on in the long run.
I don't think workshops should be leaned on in the long run. I mean,
let me offer a totally different perspective on this.
Hey, that's what we're about. That is what we're about.
listen to this and see if this makes sense to you and how it can help you sharpen. Don't go to the workshop down the road thinking that, man, I don't know, it's a workshop. Do I really need to go to a workshop? Okay, you go into the workshop with the mindset of, there's 5 other people in there, and I want to listen intently to their reads, and I want to see if I pick out the same thing the person in the workshop picks out. Make notes as they're reading. Oh, you should have done this here. You should have done this here. And then listen to the person that comes back and says, okay, so in this sentence, I really wanted to hear you hit this. And you go, yep, wrote that down. And then they say, and you really hit this a little hard. And you're saying, I'm now hearing what they may not have done correctly, or what in the industry standard would have been what you should have done. If you're able to do that during the other people's reads and start to pick things out and say, I would have done this, I think I would have done that, and it matches what the workshop director says, you are sharpening your blade.
Yeah.
So I think what I see so many times in a workshop, and this drives me up a wall, and I'm sorry, because a lot of people may do it. There is one person who is, they're doing their read, it's being discussed, and the other people's videos are up, and you'll see a couple of them, they're muted, and they're over there practicing. They're going at it 9-0 practicing for their read.
Don't do that.
Do that before the workshop. And another thing I always tell people, if the scripts are available before the workshop, pull them up and look at them. Don't read them out loud. Read them in your head a couple times. Be a little familiar, but you'll do much better, just like an audition. Like you pull it up and you kind of read over it a little bit, once or twice maybe, and then you hit it. Do that, because you'll get better feedback and all, because it'll be more like doing an audition that you would do somewhat semi-cold. I think it helps you more. But
here's what I think, because I audited one of your classes, one of your workouts, Troy, and yes, I saw that happening, and I've seen that in other workshops. Here's what I think is going on, and here's why it is robbing them of the opportunity to get the most out of the workshop. They're worried, like what Jake was talking about earlier, about not being good enough when they read. Well, that's the point. You're at the workshop because you know you have flaws.
You don't pay to have someone tell you do good.
Let those flaws fly, folks.
Yeah.
For our alliteration efforts here. Let those flaws fly.
I agree.
Also, I think what is going on is they don't want to embarrass themselves.
True.
Yeah.
Right? And so they want to be up, it's the nerves kind of thing, but they're missing out on good instruction that's being given to the person whose turn it is.
Yeah.
And they should write those things down, and then when they hit their script cold, they might have some of those things in mind,
right?
And they can build upon those. So
right. And a lot of people worry about, it's a 30-second spot. I got to make sure I get it in 30 seconds, and they go way too fast.
Yeah.
I heard Cliff say a couple of times last night, if it's a 30, I usually hope your audio comes in at 32.
Wow.
He said, I can overlay, I can do some things to it.
Yes.
But he said, if it's a 30 and you give it to me in 29, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Too fast.
I never thought about that.
That is an excellent
I can't
point.
tell you how many times last night we were saying, you got to slow down. You got to slow down. And that's nerves. A lot of people get nervous and they go fast. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that automotive spot was a 15 I did the other day.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it under 17 and a half. There is no way. And I felt like I cut out a couple things.
I had, and you probably saw the same one. It was posted on one of the sites. It was 130 something words, and they said it was a 30-second spot.
No
way. So what they were going to do, there were some things in there that were somewhat repetitive. They were probably going to pick where they were going to pull it out, but they should state that. They should put in there, don't worry about hitting the 30 seconds, but they didn't.
Or if they have, or if they want multiple versions of a line, just, put that in brackets or something, because when you're reading it, you want to make sure that you hit them similarly.
Yeah.
Easy for me to say.
We speak for a living.
Cimmerillion.
Silmarillion, yeah.
But but so many good points about these types of things. Yes, they're good. They're good for you to go to. They're reasonable. You should go to them. It's a start. And then I tell you, the other advantage of it is it gives you an opportunity to see if this is a coach that is holding it, a regular 100%. Coach. It gives you a chance to see how that coach reacts to people, how they handle people, how they do their thing. And you might go, yeah, I like them. I built a good relationship with people that way, and that was who I coached with.
I love your point about networking, Troy, with that, talking about your early gurus workshops, and then that building into networking and building contacts with that they were going back and forth with you. And then, especially the fly away, little bird,
right.
Spread your wings, because that's a pretty crucial aspect for voiceover, because there is a season of training, but training also continues throughout your career.
Absolutely.
And at some point, you've got to launch. You have to launch. The three of us, we are active in the Facebook groups, and we see people who maybe have been on there a long time. They still haven't launched their career.
Right.
And if they're listening to this episode, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Go launch your career. Go record something awesome.
Yeah.
Get out there and start making your voice heard. Right? Start making your voice heard. Get out there. Get your career launched. You don't know what you could possibly do as long as fear keeps you from launching.
Yeah, and you can also get coach overload.
Well, that's true.
You can get so much coaching that every time you pull up copy, you are so in your head looking at it and trying to decipher it and trying to do this and do that. And, one of the best pieces of advice comes from Mark Ryder. Forget the directions, forget what they're saying in there. Just read it. Just do it. Read through, find what's going on in there and identify with it, connect to it, and then do it. And then you can, if you want to go back and look at the direction after to see if you're so freaking far off, okay. And he even gave that in his public class, or the open class at VO Atlanta, so it's not like I'm sharing something he doesn't share all the time. He says, F the directions.
The directions,
F the specs, is that right?
F the specs. That's the way he puts it.
Forget
the specs.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Forget
the specs.
Here on Another VO podcast, we don't like to say the word forget for our senior citizen listeners who often F, if you know what I mean.
Hey now.
I resemble that remark.
There you go.
Isn't that
any other thoughts about workshop, guys? I think this has been a really great discussion and hopefully very helpful.
Go take them.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to discourage anybody from taking a workshop with my approach from it. I mean, I have a personal view of workshops. I've definitely been to a couple, and I have enjoyed both. Of them. I just know how I prefer to learn, so I definitely don't want to dissuade anybody from workshops. Obviously, you've got some great feedback from Troy and Alden. Troy running one of his own workshops, which again, you should check out the automotive workshop when it does pop up again. But, just decide what's best for you always.
Yeah.
Don't take our word for it. Do your own research, look into it. This is just us
for sure
saying what's up from our perspectives.
What works for one doesn't work for all, but what works for most, can work for many. And that's kind of a good way to look at it.
Well, workshops certainly have their place. Yeah, workshops certainly have their place, and if you're trying to get into VO, it's a good starting spot, a good starting place to get some copy in front of you, read in front of other people, get some feedback, and find out how close or far you are from being able to launch your own VO career.
You know what? Now that I think about it, if it wasn't for a workshop that was available to my dad, I wouldn't have known some of the things I knew to get into voiceover. So...
Yeah, you should have led with that, Jay.
Yeah, I know. Well, honestly, I did not think about it until this very moment. Yeah,
his perspective just changed.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you got it out, so you weren't haunted by that after the episode closed.
Everyone's gonna be thinking, there goes the workshop hater.
Yeah, workshops certainly have their place, and you've been listening to It's Another VO Podcast. I'm sure there's a lot more we could say about workshops, but we can have that discussion on social media or some other place. And if you've listened to this episode and you've listened to other episodes and you like what we're doing, subscribe. Subscribe to our episode on wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
This has been for Troy Holden and Jake Sanders. I'm Alden Schenneberg. And this has been It's Another VO Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of It's Another VO Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also email us your questions to anothervopodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at AnotherVOPodcast. See you next time.